In the main hall, a familiar figure was standing next to Nathan Miller. It was Emily Brooks, his former fiancée, the girl who had been attached to him since their youth, the one everyone in our circle knew. They were talking, and Emily's eyes were filled with affection as she looked at him. Nathan responded with a half smile, but there was a wild, unusual expression on his face. He had always been a reserved man, someone who rarely showed his emotions, even in the most turbulent moments. Yet now every feeling was displayed clearly on his face, making my heart ache. I stopped walking and quietly observed them. Even though Emily had run away on their wedding day, turning him into a laughingstock for the entire city, Nathan had never once blamed her. That girl, although I had never met her, had etched herself into my mind like a lingering ghost. But since Nathan never explained anything, I had no way to ask for the truth. For the past few months, he had constantly been going on business trips, using work as an excuse. Sometimes he wouldn't contact me for 10 days, half a month. When I called, he only answered with one word: busy. From those brief replies, I understood that Emily, the name haunting me for so long, had finally returned. Yesterday, after his business trip, he didn't come home. This morning, he only stopped by to change into an old dress shirt. The shirt was worn, but the fabric, design, and stitching all carried a sense of luxury and meaning. One glance was enough to know it mattered. Since we got married, he had always worn the clothes I chose for him. But today, he no longer needed me, because embroidered under the collar of that shirt was a single word: Emily. And now he was wearing the shirt she gave him, bearing her name. Standing beside her in front of everyone, he openly displayed his affection for her, while I was nothing but a joke in the eyes of the world. I did not walk forward to question him. Rather than humiliating myself, I preferred to leave with dignity. But the moment I turned around, I unexpectedly ran into Chloe Brooks, Emily's best friend. She blocked my way, arms crossed, sneering. "Nathan is still inside. Why are you already leaving? Feeling insecure?" Chloe, the loyal dog of Emily, never forgot to bark at me whenever we crossed paths. I ignored her and tried to walk past, but she continued taunting me. "See? Emily and Nathan are the perfect match. A talented man and a beautiful woman. You don't deserve him. Your background only embarrasses the Miller family. Nathan married you simply to provoke Emily into coming back." I stopped and snapped, "Get out of my way." Chloe didn't flinch. She let out a mocking laugh, opened her phone, and shoved a screenshot in front of my face. It was from the night before the wedding. Nathan Miller had still been texting Emily Brooks. The conversation was short, but sharp enough to make my heart twist painfully. "You're getting married soon. Do you really not need me anymore? If you come back, the wedding can be canceled anytime. Do you want to become the laughingstock of the whole city one more time? There are plenty of clowns in this world. What's one more?" "But I'm already married," Chloe smirked arrogantly. "Nathan only married you because my sister was already married. It wouldn't have mattered who he married." As she spoke, she looked me up and down, evaluating me from head to toe. She clicked her tongue. "Look at you. You're nothing but an image of Emily that Nathan molded. Even your perfume smells like hers. If I were you, I would have jumped off a building long ago. Why keep living such a humiliating life?" My hands trembled as I clenched them tightly, suppressing the emotions threatening to shatter inside me. I let out a faint smile and said, "You could never become me. Because this face," I looked directly at her, "you will never have." Chloe raised her hand to strike me. I grabbed her wrist and slapped her across the face. Instead of standing there barking, "She should just go get plastic surgery. Maybe when Emily Brooks abandons Nathan Miller again, she'll finally get a chance." After saying that, I walked away, but after only a few steps, Chloe threw a stack of photos toward me from behind. "Nathan has been with Emily for months now. Past or present, you'll always just be a clown." The photos flew over my head and scattered across the floor. One picture slid right in front of my eyes: Nathan Miller and Emily Brooks, kissing on a bustling street overseas, neon lights sparkling behind them. But now those colors lost all meaning. For a moment, everything around me went terrifyingly silent. The images appeared before me one frame at a time, and the feelings I had held on to for years finally shattered. My vision blurred for a second, but it lasted only a heartbeat. It was raining outside. In the freezing winter, the temperature had dropped sharply, and the rain made the cold sink deep into my bones. At the gate of the villa, the door remained tightly shut. The security guard glanced at me but did not open it. A few seconds later, the screen by the gate lit up with the face of my son, Liam Miller. "Mom, I told you already. If you can't bring Dad home to celebrate my birthday, then don't come back." The freezing rain poured onto my body like blades cutting into every cell. Liam looked at me coldly. "Why do I have a mother that no one in the family likes? If I could choose, I'd never pick you to be my mom." The last straw finally snapped. My emotions collapsed completely, and exhaustion swallowed me whole. Suddenly, nothing seemed to matter anymore. Standing there in the cold rain, I told Liam, "I'll make your wish come true." I placed the printed divorce papers into the security room. As I turned to leave, I heard Liam yelling, "Just go. Grandpa and Grandma are coming to take me to find Dad anyway." I didn't respond. He was only 5 years old, but his intelligence was far beyond his age. His teachers had called him a prodigy since he was little. He knew exactly what he was saying and doing. In his eyes, I was useless. His father was the ideal he admired. At that moment, aside from the sound of heavy rain, no one knew how burning my tears were or how much my heart hurt. When I reached the hotel, the first thing I did was take a shower. I threw away the clothes that looked like Emily Brooks's style and washed off the perfume that smelled like hers. After bathing, I looked in the mirror and saw my chestnut curls. I stared at them for a long moment before heading to a hair salon, where I changed them into straight black hair. By the time I stepped out, the rain had stopped. Amid the noise of the busy streets, I wandered alone with no destination. The night I spent with Nathan Miller had also been under brilliant lights and lively streets. Among the glitter of the city, he was drunk, and the way he looked at me was full of affection. He leaned down, wrapped me in his arms, and whispered in my ear, "Do you want to marry me?" I asked him. "Do you even know who I am?" He gently pinched my cheek and smiled. "How could I not recognize you?" I looked up into his eyes. "How long have you known me?" Without hesitation, he answered immediately, 10 years. In that moment, my heart clenched and my eyes grew hot. No one would understand the joy of having a secret love buried for 10 years finally see the light. I truly believed that I had finally appeared in his heart. But it turned out I was only a tool he used to anger someone else, just another Emily Brooks he had created. Everything he gave me wasn't because I liked it, but because Emily liked it. A car stopped by the curb under the city lights. Nathan Miller stepped out from the driver's seat and walked over to open the passenger door. Emily Brooks stepped out of the car. But she didn't pay any attention to Nathan Miller. Instead, she opened the back door and lifted my son out of the car. Emily Brooks kissed Liam all over his face with overflowing affection. She smiled and said, "My son is so handsome, just like your father." Nathan leaned casually against the car, watching them with indifference, yet the relaxed smile on his face made them look like a happy family of 3. Soon after, Nathan's parents arrived as well. They laughed and chatted cheerfully as they all walked together into an upscale restaurant. Liam's face was full of satisfaction, as if he had finally found the mother he wanted, the mother the entire family adored. Perhaps he never imagined his wish would come true this quickly. I certainly didn't expect to witness this scene here. No one remembered me, but no one cared where I was either. And of course, if anyone cared about me, then where would Emily stand? So I should simply disappear from their lives. Maybe my emotions had shattered to the point of numbness, because at that moment I felt nothing at all. I didn't keep watching them and simply continued walking. My eyes drifted away to unfamiliar people and new surroundings around me. Just then, my phone received a text message. "I'm going out with some friends tonight. Don't wait up." I looked at the message and laughed, choosing not to reply. I wasn't waiting for him, and I never would again. Behind me was a world of luxury and blinding lights of endless parties. In front of me, the faint, twinkling lights of thousands of homes. I walked all the way to the end of the cold, windy street, raised my hand, and touched my chilled face, only to realize tears had been falling for a while. Late at night, Nathan Miller returned home. Inside the dim room, only a faint sliver of light came in from outside. Lisa, he called out, his voice slightly slurred with alcohol, but unable to hide his irritation. The room remained silent. No one answered. He frowned, stumbled toward the bedroom, loosened his tie, and leaned against the door without turning on the lights. His voice was cold. Liam told me you didn't want to stay and celebrate his birthday with him. What does walking out like that mean? Sulking with a child? This is how you act as a mother? Still no response. Irritated, he flicked on the lights. As the room lit up, Nathan looked toward the bed with growing displeasure. The bed was completely empty, the sheets perfectly smooth, without a single wrinkle. It was obvious she hadn't come home. The anger inside him had nowhere to go, boiling even hotter. He took out his phone and tried calling her, but all he heard was an automated message. The number you have dialed is currently busy. Busy? This late? Who was she talking to? A moment later he called again. Still busy. His brows furrowed, his expression darkening. The third, fourth call, same message. Only then did he realize she had blocked him. In a surge of fury, Nathan threw his phone aside. He summoned the housekeeper. Where's she? The housekeeper timidly handed him a set of papers. Madam left this and didn't return. Nathan took the stack and the words divorce agreement hit him like a slap. He laughed, cold, furious laughter that trembled with disbelief. Then he tore the papers into tiny pieces. Get out. The housekeeper fled in fear. She had never seen Nathan Miller angry like this. Nathan sat on the sofa, pressing his temples. Divorce, he muttered. In this world, she only had him and their son. Where could she possibly go? She couldn't go anywhere. When she was done being angry, she would come back on her own. When the plane landed in Lincoln City, my brother, Ethan Lane, picked me up in a black sedan. I stared silently out the window the entire ride. Ethan handed me a strawberry millefeuille pastry. The sweetness was unmistakable. Yet the moment I took a bite, tears filled my eyes. Ryan Nam, sitting in the front seat, turned and asked, "Did he hurt you?" "It just means people make different choices," I said quietly. Ryan Nam glanced at me and asked, "Do you need me to handle him for you?" "No," I replied softly. "There's no need. He was once very kind to me." Ryan clenched his teeth. "If it weren't for him stepping in and taking you away from that terrible situation back then, giving you safety, letting you study, helping you build a life, I wouldn't have let things go so easily." I took a breath. I don't owe him anything anymore. From now on, let's not talk about him. I had been the long-lost daughter of the Nam family in Lincoln City. More than 20 years ago, I was taken from my home and passed from one group to another, until I ended up in the house of an older man. At 13, when I began to understand the world more clearly, he tried to control my life in ways that terrified me. At first, I avoided him by staying out of reach, but over time, the situation grew worse. I begged him to leave me alone, but he dismissed my fear as if it meant nothing. His words and behavior left deep marks on my memory, places in the mind that stayed dark long after you escaped them. Even now, remembering those moments makes me tremble. That was why when Nathan Miller appeared, he felt like a lifeline. Nathan was only 20 at the time, tall, composed, and far more mature than most men his age. At first, he didn't intend to take me with him, but when he saw how desperate I was, he returned for me. He crouched down and said, "My grandmother lives alone in South Haven Village. Would you like to stay with her? I'll make sure you can go to school all the way through college." I nodded, and as the morning light rose, I walked away from the darkness behind me. That day, he planted a seed in my heart. My feelings for him were simply the result of that seed growing. I never blamed him for not loving me back. What stood between us had always been only a dream. And when a dream ends, so does the bond it creates. After I left, Nathan Miller didn't seem affected. He continued going out with Emily Brooks and his friends as usual. But today, for the first time, he didn't bring Emily along. As soon as he entered the private room, he lit a cigarette without a word. Everyone exchanged glances, ready to tease him, when suddenly his phone received a message. He immediately grabbed it. Nathan, who usually hated being disturbed and kept his phone on silent, had not only turned on the sound, but also picked it up, as if waiting for something. His friends teased him. "What's up today, Nathan? You've been glued to your phone lately, like you're waiting for someone." But it was only an advertisement. Nathan tossed the phone on the table, clearly irritated. He poured himself a drink and emptied the glass. A friend nudged him. Didn't bring Emily today? Why do you look so distracted? Nathan shot him a glance but didn't answer. I heard you're planning to divorce so you can marry Emily, another joked. You're the most hopeless romantic among us. Nathan set his glass down impatiently. Who said anything about me getting a divorce? His friends blinked. You're not. Then what's going on with you two? Nathan replied flatly, just having fun. The room erupted in laughter. Told you, none of us is a real romantic. 2 months passed. I still hadn't returned home. It was strange. Only one person was missing. Yet Nathan felt the house had become noticeably colder. The housekeepers were still there, meals were still prepared, but every morning when he woke up, his eyes instinctively drifted to the wardrobe where I used to lay out his clothes. Soon after, any trace of my scent had completely disappeared from the house, as if I had never existed at all. Nathan looked up at the large wedding photo hanging on the wall, and a tightness pressed against his chest. There was a noise outside the door, and his heart tightened slightly as he turned to look, but the person walking in was Emily Brooks. Her smile was as bright as it had always been, yet somehow, with time passing, that smile no longer brought him any joy. Nathan Miller asked, "What are you doing here?" Emily replied, "Auntie told me to go with you to the old house to celebrate Grandma's birthday." Nathan suddenly remembered that today was his grandmother's birthday. Emily's face lit up with excitement. "Where's my son, Liam?" she asked as she started up the stairs, calling his name. When Liam was born, Emily often joked that he was her son, and Nathan had never corrected her. But today, hearing those words, he found them unbearably grating. When he finally spoke, his voice carried clear irritation. "He's at the old house, not here." Emily froze mid-step. After a long moment of silence, she slowly descended the stairs again. Her voice was filled with grievance. "Nathan, are you upset with me?" Nathan frowned and didn't answer. He simply turned away. "You go ahead to the old house first. Tell Grandma I have an urgent matter at the company and will come later." Inside his study, Nathan used a software program on his computer to call Lisa. As soon as he dialed, he pulled a cigarette from its pack. Before he could light it, the call connected. He paused, the cigarette between his fingers, listening to the faint sounds on the other end. A strange, soothing warmth spread through him, like a gentle stream calming his heart. Nathan smiled slightly. "Lisa?" At that moment, I was in the office typing lines of code. I majored in computer science, and since the Nam family owned a tech company, I began working there. Hearing Nathan's voice felt like I hadn't heard it in years. "Yes?" I replied. Nathan said, "Today is Grandma's birthday. I don't want things to be awkward. Tell me where you are. I'll come pick you up." I stayed silent for a few seconds before asking, "Have you signed the divorce papers yet?" His voice turned faint and almost casual. "What do you mean?" I said, "Choose a day. We'll sign the divorce papers." The smile on Nathan's lips instantly disappeared. The cigarette he hadn't even lit was crushed between his fingers. When he spoke again, his voice had gone cold. "You really want a divorce?" Nathan ground the cigarette in his hand. "For what reason?" He didn't even know why I wanted to leave. I looked out the window at the setting sun. For the past 2 months, nearly every day, Chloe Brooks had sent photos to my inbox, pictures of Nathan Miller and Emily Brooks together. Nathan always looked tall, clean-cut, and handsome. Emily always wore outfits matching his, her beautiful face framed by long, flowing hair that fell over her shoulders, elegant and fashionable. The two of them dressed in minimalistic styles, looking like a perfect pair, striking and well-matched. I often thought back to the days I spent with him. He didn't like me without makeup. He didn't like my straight black hair. He didn't like me wearing clothes without luxury labels. Only now do I understand. Only with a refined face, long flowing hair, and expensive outfits would I look closest to Emily. 16 years of love, yet in the end, it was all a joke. Even as I chose to leave, I still felt suffocated. But at least I woke up before it was too late. Everyone clings stubbornly at times. Once you move past that feeling, nothing seems to matter anymore. The sun continued to set, and the room gradually dimmed. The reflection in the glass showed my black hair and the outfit I truly loved. The lipstick I liked to use made me feel like a whole new person. Ever since I was young, people told me I was beautiful. Even when I went out barefaced, I was still someone others turned their heads to look at. But in front of Nathan Miller, I was never confident. He had always been the one in control in our relationship, and I no longer wanted to be the one beneath him. After a long pause, I calmly said, "Because being with you doesn't mean anything anymore." "With me there's no meaning? Then being with someone else, does that have meaning? And what does that have to do with me?" Nathan laughed angrily. "Lisa, do you really have to make a scene like this?" I laughed softly. "Nathan, do you actually think I would make a scene with you?" My words silenced him. For years, I had always been quiet, always sacrificing without complaint. He had never truly paid attention to me, nor had he ever understood my emotions. For the first time, Nathan felt a strange sense of regret. Without realizing it, his voice lowered. "We can't just get divorced without talking. At least give me a chance to explain." I remained calm. "You asked me to marry you, and I didn't know the reason, so now that I'm leaving you, you don't need to know the reason either." Whatever regret Nathan felt instantly evaporated with my words. "You should know I'm not the kind of fool who gets thrown away without an explanation." I let out a quiet laugh. "When Emily left you, I didn't see you trying to figure out the reason. Do you think I'm easier to bully?" "Lisa, if you don't sign, I'll file for divorce. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow." "And the child? You don't want him anymore?" Nathan struck directly at what used to be my weakness, but Liam was no longer my weakness. I smiled faintly. "Liam is your son, he carries your blood. He'll become another version of you. And I don't want that." Then I hung up the call from the computer software. I couldn't block the number there, but it didn't matter. Truly letting go wasn't about blocking someone. The beeping tone echoed in Nathan's ear. He removed his headset and lit another cigarette. In the silent room, his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen. Emily Brooks. He exhaled a thin stream of smoke and didn't answer. In the reflection of the large window, his face looked dark and clouded. But through the haze of smoke, my words echoed in his mind, each one making him increasingly uncomfortable. Irritated, he stood up and headed straight to the old house. He had never been someone who spoiled women, and Lisa was no exception. When Nathan arrived, the old house was lively and warm. Emily was happily playing with Liam. His parents and grandparents were all smiling fondly. Emily had always known how to please others. Ever since she was young, the elders adored her. Even now, she remained well liked by his parents and grandparents. The Brooks family held a status equal to the Millers, and although Emily was divorced, she was still considered a good, respectable woman, someone suitable for Nathan. But no one cared where Lisa had gone. Not even her own son, Liam, asked where his mother was. "Liam is your son. He carries your blood. He'll become another version of you. And I don't want that." My words suddenly echoed in Nathan's mind, and immediately the anger simmering inside him burst upward. Nathan's voice dropped as he called out, "Liam, come here." Liam was giggling in Emily's arms. "Dad, come here. Mom, Emily said she has a secret to tell you." Nathan stepped forward with a cold expression and lifted Liam out of Emily's embrace. Emily quickly stood up. "Nathan, be careful. Don't hurt my son." Nathan looked at her, his voice icy. "Since when is he your son?" He then looked down at Liam. "Who is your mother? You don't know." His voice sharpened. "Your teacher says you're a genius, but honestly, you're just being foolish." Emily froze in shock. Lately, Nathan had begun distancing himself from her. It was clear he had grown tired of her. When he went out with friends, he no longer called her. No calls, no messages. Emily Brooks had always been a privileged daughter who was adored since childhood. It was rare for her to lower herself for anyone. Yet she had swallowed her pride and sought out Nathan several times, and each time he ignored her. Eventually, she stopped looking for him because she believed that a woman who kept clinging to a man would lose her worth. But she still couldn't control herself. She always wanted to see him. Today was Nathan's grandmother's birthday, so she used the occasion to approach him. She never expected he would treat her this way. Emily was furious. She assumed Nathan would coax her, but he didn't. Everyone believed that if she returned, he would divorce to marry her. Even she thought so. That was why, when Liam was born, she always joked that he would eventually be her son. And Nathan had always responded with a faint, indifferent smile, never once objecting. But now that she had returned, he still had no intention of divorcing, even though Lisa had left home 2 months ago. Nathan had shown no sign whatsoever that he wanted to marry her. And now, in front of the entire family, he confronted Liam. Without a doubt, he was embarrassing her. He was telling everyone that he would not marry her, and that the only mother Liam could ever have was Lisa. Emily's heart sank, the smile fading from her face. She rose from the sofa and looked straight at Nathan. "Nathan, what do you mean by this?" Nathan looked back at her, his expression cold. "Nothing. Just reminding you not to cross the line. I'm married." The elders of the Miller family exchanged confused looks. Nathan's grandfather tapped his cane lightly on the floor. "Nathan Miller." But Nathan ignored him and continued speaking to Emily. "You and I are just friends." Emily took a step back. "Nathan, you're awful." But compared to Emily's anger, Nathan remained far calmer. He didn't even care. "It's simply giving you what you gave me." Emily's entire body trembled. So he had never forgiven her for running away from their wedding. The rumors were true. His ambiguity with her wasn't because he still had feelings for her, it was because he wanted her to taste the feeling of being abandoned, ridiculed, humiliated. Emily suddenly let out a laugh. How could she forget? He had never been a forgiving person. He was Nathan Miller, a man who retaliated for every slight, never showing mercy. She clenched her fists and glared at him coldly. "Nathan, you keep living your life without caring how anyone else feels. If Lisa stayed by your side, it would only prove how pathetic she is." With that, she immediately left. Nathan's grandfather became so furious he nearly had to be hospitalized. Nathan's father grabbed a cane and struck him repeatedly, but Nathan didn't make a sound. Only when his skin split and blood appeared did the elders feel satisfied enough to stop. At that moment, Nathan finally spoke quietly, "I will not divorce." Later that night, while I was asleep, my phone suddenly rang. Half conscious, I picked up. There was silence on the other end for a long moment, and then a voice spoke. "It's Emily." I opened my eyes, instantly alert. "What is it?" "I heard you want to divorce Nathan because of me. But if I wanted to be with him, I wouldn't have run away from the wedding back then, and you wouldn't exist in his life now. So don't worry, there will never be anything between us." She continued, "He used to like me a lot. When I disappeared, he fell apart, drinking every day. Even right before the wedding, he asked, 'Did I really no longer need him?' Emily said. But so many years have passed. We're no longer who we used to be. Now he and I are just friends." The way she spoke about her relationship with Nathan Miller, so certain, so self-righteous, was almost laughable. Emily's words sounded as though she was trying to make peace, but in reality, she was provoking me. Anyone who could be close to someone like Chloe Brooks was unlikely to be a decent person. I let out a soft laugh, unwilling to let her have the upper hand. "Emily, are you trying to pretend you're innocent while playing both sides?" Surprised Chloe didn't come bark at me today. "Did she finally fail her job as your guard dog, so you decided to bite me yourself? Is it because Nathan doesn't want you that you're panicking?" I had known Nathan for 16 years. I understood him to some extent. He was not the faithful type. Maybe he once liked Emily very much, but that didn't mean he still did now. It was just that he couldn't have her, and his pride couldn't accept that. Emily at this point was not worth him making himself a laughingstock. Nathan would never choose to divorce me for her. If he wanted a divorce, the papers would have already been in my hands long ago. Emily stayed silent for a long time before letting out a disdainful scoff. "Your words are vicious. Nathan told me you were gentle and weak. Turns out it was all an act." "No need to pretend," I replied calmly. "I only wanted to show you my real face." "If you're so strong," she shot back, "then don't come crawling back, even if it kills you." But I still smiled. "Whether I come back or not has nothing to do with you." After that, I immediately hung up. The night was quiet, but I couldn't fall asleep again. The moonlight spilled through the windows, casting a faint glow across the room. Old memories appeared clearly in my mind, as if I had been transported back to the year Nathan brought me to his grandmother's home. His grandmother adored me, always buying things for me. Whenever I was sad, she would notice immediately and comfort me. No one had ever treated me so kindly. I often thought of the way she looked at me with warmth and pity, and every time I remembered it, my eyes would sting. But when I turned 20, Nathan's grandmother passed away. At the moment of her death, she held my hand tightly, unwilling to let go. Tears filled her eyes as she said, "Lisa, I won't be able to take care of you anymore. You must learn to take good care of yourself. What worries me the most is you." It was the first time I had ever truly felt someone's concern. The pain back then was overwhelming, but I couldn't fight fate. Before she passed, she had arranged everything. She left her small house to me and told me that even if she was no longer here, that home would always belong to me. I lived quietly in that house, never imagining I would meet Nathan again. I thought our lives would never intersect a second time. After all, the distance between us was too great. Cinderella stories were not meant for people like me. But during the winter break of my junior year in college, when I visited my grandmother's grave, I met Nathan again. That day the sky was gray, and when I arrived at the cemetery, snow began to fall heavily. Nathan stood silently in front of her grave for a long time, unmoving, looking deeply sad. At the time, I didn't understand his emotions. Now I know, that was the year Emily ran away from their wedding. But back then, I knew nothing. I mistakenly believed it was the continuation of whatever existed between us. Nathan was like grandma. He bought me many things: clothes, shoes, lipstick, cosmetics. He even insisted on taking me himself to change my hairstyle. Between us, it felt like we were a couple, yet not truly a couple. He seemed to love me, yet didn't love me. His affection was something I could never fully touch. He was both the source of my pain and the one who healed me. All the sadness, the hurt, the hope, everything he brought into my life kept me drowning in emotions I couldn't pull myself out of. So when he asked if I wanted to marry him, I agreed. But he never knew that I had never once imagined growing old with him. Maybe because I never allowed myself to think about an ending. That was why, when this relationship finally reached its conclusion, I wasn't devastated. As the memories slowly faded, I felt only a faint sense of regret, nothing more. When my lawyer contacted Nathan Miller, he was stunned. The #1 attorney in Lincoln City, Mason, had personally come to handle something as trivial as a simple divorce case. But Nathan wasn't easy to deal with either. His own attorney was among the best. Nathan handed everything over to him and instructed, "Drag it out as long as possible. I'm not in a hurry." The Miller family's lawyer was shocked. This was the first time Nathan had ever given an order that disregarded efficiency. After Mason left, Nathan called his assistant in. "Find out where Lisa is." The fact that she could hire Mason is very unusual. Nathan lit a cigarette, but after only a couple of breaths, he extinguished it. She didn't like men who smoked. Mason didn't smoke either. Outside the office window, the city lights shimmered, bright, luxurious, and indulgent. She disliked extravagance, and she hated entertainment venues even more. Mason, despite his wealthy background, lived quietly and never frequented such places. He carried himself with dignity, respected women, and possessed a face so striking it was impossible not to notice. He was exactly the type of man Lisa would prefer. The more Nathan thought about it, the more irritated he became. For the first time in his life, anxiety crept into him. He wanted to hold on to something, yet he didn't know how or where to begin. More than a month passed. His assistant had tried countless methods, but still hadn't found any trace of Lisa. Nathan hired the best investigative specialists available, yet still came up empty-handed. For the first time, he felt the sting of failure. Still, he believed that if he truly wanted to find her, he would. He just never imagined he would find nothing at all. More than a month had gone by, New Year's Eve, the Lantern Festival, yet she didn't send him a single message, not one phone call. She didn't even send Liam a holiday greeting. Outside, snow fell thickly as the icy wind howled. Inside, the house was warm but unbearably empty. Nathan looked around. Everything in this house had been chosen by him. Even their wedding photo was taken according to his own preferences. There was nothing in this house that belonged to Lisa, no trace that she had ever lived here. Only now did he finally believe she truly wanted to leave him. He had never imagined she would walk away. He had thought she would regret it, that she would return to him eventually. But now he realized he couldn't wait any longer. Nathan took out his phone, glanced at the date on the screen, then grabbed his car keys and left the house. February 17th, the anniversary of his grandmother's death. To avoid encountering the Miller family, I purposely arrived a day late, but the snow began to fall again, just like the year my grandmother passed away, cold and quiet. I stood before her grave for a very long time, remembering her final words. "Lisa, don't you dare dream of being with Nathan. She's not right for you, do you understand?" Grandma had said. "Even if he saved you, you don't need to worship him like some kind of saint. He's just a person, with many flaws. He doesn't care about others, nor does he pay attention to anyone's feelings. He's not as good as you think. Saving you probably used up whatever kindness he had in his lifetime. Lisa, don't step into a life of suffering." The cold wind whipped my hair as snowflakes landed on my face, freezing against my skin. I cried in front of her grave like a child who had done something wrong. "Grandma, I'm sorry. I didn't listen to you. He wasn't suffering. He was my faith. Even if the pain outweighed the happiness, I've never regretted going through it with him." I didn't know how long I stood there. Only when I finally looked up did I notice the sky had gone dark. The snow had stopped, and above me hung a bright moon, like a lantern illuminating the night. I turned to leave, walking slowly through the quiet darkness, thinking about my past and my future. Fortunately, things weren't too terrible. I still had a chance to start over. I didn't know how long I walked, but when I finally raised my head, I was standing before my grandmother's old house, the place where I had lived for so many years. Everything was exactly the same. Nothing had changed. Someone must have been maintaining it. The house was clean and well kept, untouched by time. The surroundings were quiet except for the cold wind blowing through. I reached out and entered the code. The password had not changed. The door opened. But inside the house, Nathan Miller had been waiting right behind it. Hearing the sound, his heartbeat quickened. He shook his head slightly. Why was he acting like a 17 or 18-year-old boy? I didn't expect to see Nathan the moment I opened the door. In a moment like that, suddenly finding someone inside startled me so much that I gasped and instinctively turned to run. But before I could take a step, Nathan grabbed me. He pulled me inside and closed the door. Grinding his teeth, he said, "I finally found you." "Let go," I ordered. But instead of releasing me, he tightened his grip on my chin and pressed a forceful kiss against my lips. Even if Nathan still carried someone else in his heart, he always acted overwhelmingly possessive with me, especially in moments like this. His kisses had always been intense. If it had been before, I might have been swept away. But now all I felt was disgust. Fueled by anger, I slapped him across the face. I used all my strength. My palm went numb instantly, and the print of my hand appeared clearly on his cheek. Nathan had never been hit, much less in the face. His eyes darkened as he stared at me. My own eyes grew hot, tears falling before I could stop them. I turned and tried to open the door to leave, but Nathan blocked my way. "You hit me and still want to walk out?" Facing away from him, it took me a long time to steady my breathing. I had once placed all my love and trust in him, only for it all to turn into a pathetic joke. "Nathan," I said quietly, "I told you I will not regret divorcing you." Nathan looked up slightly. "Is it because of Emily?" I felt irritated. "No, Emily, no matter who she is just an outsider. I know very well that you will never love me. You'll never truly care about me. A marriage like that has no meaning. There was a time when I thought loving him alone was enough, but now I realized I had overestimated myself. Who could love someone forever without expecting anything in return? Life is short, but also painfully long. If you torment yourself too much, you'll turn into someone insane, despised by everyone." Nathan tightened his grip on my wrist, refusing to let me go. "I once liked her." "But that was all in the past," Nathan said. "There's nothing between me and her anymore." I shoved his hand away, furious. "Nothing? Then what? Did you ever think about me when you spent months by her side? Did you ever think about me when you openly flirted with her in front of everyone? After I left, you two showed up together everywhere. Did you think about me then? After enjoying being with two women at once, now you expect me to believe there was nothing?" Nathan Miller, I'm not some dog you can call over or push away whenever you want. You once did something life-changing for me, and I never wanted to see you become someone I found repulsive. But you're the one who turned yourself into that person. Nathan looked down. His throat moved slightly as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out. His expression darkened, and I knew he was furious. Who wouldn't be when someone exposed the ugliest part of them? But no one cared about his feelings, not anymore. I let out a small laugh. Nathan, I don't want our separation to end in bitterness or hatred, but I hope you finalize the divorce soon. That way we won't ever have to see each other again. Nathan gave a cold laugh. So even comforting you won't work? Lisa, how long are you going to stay stubborn like this? The idea of you comforting me is ridiculous, I said. Mr. Miller, do you really think I'm begging for your pity? I didn't give him another glance as I turned and walked out. The yard fell into silence again, broken only by the icy wind cutting through the air. The cold seeped into the bones. Nathan stood there for a long time, so long that his entire body grew numb from the wind. He had always been proud, a man who never bowed his head to any woman. When Emily Brooks ran away on their wedding day, it annoyed him, yes, but he didn't collapse or spiral into despair. Nathan had never truly lowered himself. A few emotionless texts from him were always enough to keep Emily from letting go. That was why, when he married, Emily contacted him again. The moment he heard her voice on the phone, he felt the sweetness of victory. She kept messaging him afterward, imagining that he was like some loyal dog waiting for scraps from her. When Liam was born, Emily said he was her son. Nathan never corrected her. Letting her drown in her own delusions before destroying them, that was the sweetest form of revenge. Yes, he had never had deep feelings for Emily. She had humiliated him by fleeing on their wedding day, turning him into a joke for the entire city. Nathan Miller could not and would not forget that shame. So when everyone assumed he was heartbroken over her, when they believed he married me just to provoke her, he never bothered explaining. Rumors spread, and eventually everyone believed them, including Emily. That was why she divorced. The first thing she did afterward was return to the country, and Nathan did not disappoint her. At the company anniversary gala, he deliberately wore the shirt she had once gifted him, the one with her initial embroidered on the collar. That day, the once arrogant princess became a woman ready to throw herself at him. She believed Nathan would divorce me and marry her. He found it laughable. Did she really think Nathan Miller was some hopeless romantic? He knew I had witnessed that scene, but he didn't care how I felt. Whatever emotions I had, he assumed I would adjust on my own. The next time I saw him, he believed I would still be the same woman who adored him. So when I said I wanted a divorce, he didn't take it seriously. He continued appearing everywhere with Emily, letting the world assume he couldn't live without her. And when she finally believed he would divorce me and marry her, he turned completely cold. No more texts, no more invitations to meet. In the beginning, Emily still held on to her arrogance. But gradually she lost all pride, seeking him out on her own, shamelessly going to the home he once shared with me, brazen enough to show up at his family's old house to celebrate his grandmother's birthday. That was exactly the result Nathan wanted. He loved nothing more than watching the people who once stepped on him fall to their knees before him, like obedient dogs. Only when everything settled did he finally realize that his wife had vanished without a trace. I wasn't like he imagined. I wouldn't quietly sort out my emotions and come back to him. Even when he personally came to find me, I refused to return home with him. Only then did he truly understand that I wanted to remove myself from his life completely. Every word I had said to him was a blade striking straight into his heart. So, I had known everything. I understood him. That was precisely why I didn't need him. I left my grandmother's old house and walked a long distance. The sky began to snow again. Life's unpredictability was astonishing. Just a moment ago the sky had been clear, and now it was overcast and snowing. Maybe because I had walked so far, I no longer felt the cold wind brushing past me. Along the roadside, groups of 3 or 5 walked by. Some had no umbrellas and let the snow fall freely over them. Some held umbrellas themselves. Some were sheltered by others. Some looked deep in thought, some calm, some joyful. In the past, whenever the weather turned bad, I used to hope Nathan Miller would come and hold an umbrella over me, shielding me from storms, whispering promises of love. But every time, I ended up laughing at myself. Nathan had only ever held an umbrella for me once. That was already rare enough. And yet, I still hoped he would shield me for the rest of my life. A man like him, how could he ever devote himself to holding an umbrella for one woman? I stopped and closed my eyes as snowflakes landed cold and sharp on my face. After a long moment, I wiped the snow from my cheeks, walked into a store, and bought an umbrella. Holding it over myself, I realized it wasn't as hard as I thought to protect myself. 3 days later, after work, right outside the gates of Namtek, I saw Liam Miller. He was only 5 years old, yet his face carried the seriousness of an adult. He seemed a little upset, awkwardly turning his head toward me. Lam. That reluctant, almost grudging tone, it was exactly like his father. His resemblance to Nathan was overwhelming. No matter how hard I had tried to teach him, I still couldn't overcome the cold indifference in his blood. He was my son, and there isn't a mother in this world who doesn't love her child. I had poured all my love and effort into him, but unfortunately, not every child loves their mother in return. As long as someone else gave him what he wanted, he was willing to follow them and turn cold toward me. I had tried not to hold anything against him. After all, he was just a child. But on his birthday night, he said words that shattered my heart. After I left, he happily celebrated his birthday with the people he considered closest. Emily Brooks held him in her arms. And my son didn't even remember his own mother. I became a joke in everyone's eyes, while his father and he acted as though nothing mattered. Looking down at my son's indifferent little face, I gently said, "You're not wrong. The mistake was mine. I shouldn't have given birth to you. Then you wouldn't have ended up with a mother like me." He lifted his head, a flicker of confusion and worry appearing in his eyes. I didn't bend down to comfort him. I simply continued, "Now you can choose your own mother. Whoever you think is fit to be your mom, just tell your father. Your father told you to come here, didn't he? If he hadn't asked you, you probably won't remember who your mother is for the rest of your life, will you?" I said quietly. "Honestly, having a child like you, I'm disappointed too. Go on, tell Nathan he doesn't need to waste his time on pointless things like this." I walked away without looking back. But I had barely taken 2 steps when I heard Liam call out desperately behind me. "Mom, Dad didn't tell me to come. I came on my own." His little voice carried disappointment and the innocence of a child. It had been so long since I'd heard Liam sound like that. My heart tightened, but I still didn't turn around. He would be fine without me. I kept walking. Not far ahead, I saw a black car parked by the side of the road. I didn't need to look closely to know Nathan Miller was inside. He cared about his son. He would never leave a 5-year-old standing alone like that. When he saw that I didn't look back at all, Nathan finally couldn't stand it. He stepped out of the car, stormed toward me, and grabbed my arm. "Lisa, Liam is only 5 years old. How could you be so heartless and leave him like that?" I shook off his hand and looked at him coldly. "Oh, now you remember he's 5? Then why did you let others tear apart his relationship with his mother? Why did everyone speak badly about me in front of him? And you're the one who set the example. What right do you have to lecture me? Isn't this exactly the outcome all of you wanted?" The deeper my anger burned, the calmer I felt. I looked at Nathan and suddenly laughed. "I know what you're thinking. You just want to use me as the final blow against Emily Brooks. Keeping me married to you is your strongest weapon to hurt her. Nathan Miller, you truly can't let anything go. No wonder Emily didn't want you." Every word I spoke cut into him like a blade. Nathan swallowed all his emotions, unable to let them spill out the way he used to. He was no longer able to stand tall and proud in front of me. In this moment, he was even willing to swallow his anger, just hoping I would talk to him calmly, without lashing out or stabbing him with harsh words. I knew he wasn't obsessed with Emily the way people thought. But in my heart, he had already become someone low. Someone small. Nathan finally said, "Yes, I admit I wanted revenge on her. But she's not important enough for me to lower myself and beg her. Lisa, from beginning to end, I only had you. Those photos you saw of me and Emily, people took them from angles that made things look worse." I let out a humorless laugh. "You only had me? Yet you belittled me, disrespected me, let your family trample on me, and encouraged our son to hate me. You only had me? And still you wore a shirt with her name embroidered on it, making me a joke in front of everyone. You only had me? But you celebrated Liam's birthday with Emily and your entire family, like a picture-perfect family, without seeing anything wrong with it. Nathan, I don't want to bring up the past anymore. Maybe you only had me, but that didn't stop you from hurting me. I thought I could say all this with indifference, but my heart still aches. I endured so much in silence, and no one knew. The person who hurt me never once realized he was wrong. Just like now, Nathan thought that by coming to find me again and again, he had done enough, given me enough face, that I should be grateful and return home with him. His arrogance was endless. Nathan looked at me standing before him, my long black hair blowing in the wind. My face was bare, without a trace of makeup, yet still beautiful enough to make his heart ache. I hadn't changed. Yet somehow I seemed like a completely different person. Lisa. Nathan suddenly looked flustered. I don't want to make excuses. I really was awful. I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? Perhaps because he had never spoken so softly in his life, he looked uncomfortable, almost embarrassed. He tightened his grip on my hand. I truly know I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way in the past. After so many years together, are we really just going to throw everything away? I tried to pull my hand back, but he held on too tightly. I was about to push him away when a fist suddenly flew straight into Nathan's face. Nathan staggered several steps before he could steady himself. Before he even lifted his head to see who hit him, Ryan landed another punch, then a kick. Nathan collapsed onto the ground, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth, unable to get up. Ryan clearly wasn't holding back. He was about to strike again when a small child dashed out and stood in front of Nathan. Everything happened too fast. When I finally reacted, I grabbed Ryan's arm and pulled him back. His fist stopped just a few centimeters from Liam's tiny body. Ryan was furious, the veins on his forehead bulging, but he still straightened up. You little brat, he snapped. When your mom was being yelled at, I didn't see you protecting her. But now you're out here shielding this pathetic excuse for a father? Impressive. Protecting this man? There's nothing good in you at all. No wonder your mom left you. Liam's eyes turned red. Who said my mom left me? Ryan answered coldly. She's right at home. Why don't you take this lousy father of yours and go find her? No matter how mature Liam acted, he was still just a child. Ryan's words nearly made him cry. He looked at me with pleading eyes, as if begging me to stand on his side. But I didn't. He needed to learn that everything he said and did came with consequences. I didn't look at Liam. Instead, I focused on Nathan still lying on the ground. My decision hasn't changed. I'm going through with the divorce. I hope you'll cooperate with the attorney so we can finish this quickly. I pulled Ryan with me, intending to leave. But behind us, Nathan let out a sneer. No wonder you don't want me anymore. You found someone else. Lisa, your love really is cheap. I stopped walking, though I didn't turn around. I intended to say something, but Ryan spoke first. Nathan Miller, don't make me hit you again. Even if her feelings were cheap, they'll never be for you again. With that, Ryan pulled me away quickly. He seemed even angrier than I was. It was the first time in years someone had stood up for me, and that person was my older brother. A warm, indescribable feeling rose in my chest. I smiled slightly. Thank you, Ryan. You don't need to thank me, he replied. I'll always be your support. Behind you is the entire NAM Corporation. No one will dare bully you ever again. Behind us, Nathan struggled to his feet. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stared at our disappearing figures with blazing fury. Rage surged within him, overwhelming and uncontrollable, as if it might drive him insane. Dad, are you okay? Liam asked softly. Nathan looked at him with cold disdain. Useless. You can't even keep your own mother. Liam lowered his head. Dad, what will you do next? What can I do? Nathan bit out. I don't want a divorce, but what choice do I have? Liam glanced at him, his voice tinted with something that was far too mature for a 5-year-old. You don't deserve Mom. She wasn't happy with you. You should get a divorce. Nathan stared down at him. Did you intentionally make her angry enough to leave? Liam said nothing and climbed into the car. His small face, the moment Liam climbed into the car, a single tear rolled down his cheek. He couldn't remember how many times he had woken up in the middle of the night and seen his mother silently crying alone. Ever since he was old enough to understand anything, he had almost never seen a genuine smile on her face. Even when she did smile, there was always resignation in it, an indescribable sadness. She loved him deeply, but she wasn't happy. And because of that, he had become the final straw that broke everything apart. He hoped his mother could finally live for herself, not for him or his father. On the day my identity as a Nam family member was to be officially announced, a grand banquet was held in Redwood City. The Nam family invited many influential figures in society, including the Millers from Nam City. No matter what had happened, Nathan Miller was once my benefactor, and the Nam family needed to express their gratitude for what he had done years ago. I specifically asked Ryan to invite both Melissa and Tasha. When they arrived at the hotel, I stepped out of the car. The moment Tasha saw me, she immediately started barking like always. "Oh, isn't this Lisa?" she sneered, eyeing me from head to toe. "Well, look at you, completely different, huh? But no matter how much you change, you still can't escape the fate of a low-class nobody." She laughed harshly. "I didn't expect to see you here. So, whose wallet did you latch onto this time? That outfit must be some kind of limited edition, right? Who's the desperate guy sponsoring washed-up trash like you now?" She burst out laughing and jabbed her elbow into Melissa. "Look at her," she said mockingly. "Poor her entire life, yet still dresses like a princess. Isn't that hilarious?" Melissa cast me a cold, condescending glance. "Talking to someone who played my stand-in for years? Is there anything worth saying?" Then she looked down at me from above with proud disdain. "Let me be blunt. Using youth and beauty to cling to men won't get you anywhere. A woman should have self-respect. A wealthy man will never see you as valuable. You're nothing." I smiled lightly and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "Thanks for thinking I'm young and beautiful." Melissa's expression darkened. "You really have no shame." I kept smiling. "Miss Lewis, you're right. A woman should keep herself clean. That's why I'd like to show you both something. I hope it helps you learn how to behave like decent human beings." I snapped my fingers. Immediately, the giant screens on the hotel facade and every advertisement display along the street changed. The images shown were of Melissa and Tasha partying with different men over the years. Scenes so indecent they resembled films from notoriously depraved countries. But that wasn't the worst part. The truly horrifying thing was that they didn't just party with men, they also indulged with women. If someone they targeted wasn't attractive enough, they forced them to undergo cosmetic surgery. They ruined people's lives without hesitation and laughed about it afterward. Many people had lost their lives because of them. But thanks to their wealthy backgrounds, they used money to silence every victim. If a victim's family refused to comply, they used violence to force obedience. In the videos, they stepped on victims' family members and laughed maniacally. As the videos played, Melissa and Tasha's expressions shifted from disdain to terror. Melissa reacted first. She lunged toward me like a madwoman, but before she could lay a single finger on me, Ryan kicked her away. Tasha watched Melissa hit the ground, then pointed at me and screamed, "Lisa, you wretch, just wait. Ryan, are you blind? How could you protect trash like her? Have you never seen a woman before?" Ryan lifted his hands slightly, an unspoken command. The bodyguards behind him immediately stepped forward, pulling out duct tape to silence her. Both Melissa and Tasha, women from the Nam family, had become the target of public humiliation. The panic in their eyes was straight out of a horror movie, but they had no chance to speak another word. Around them, a crowd had gathered, some filming, while others simply watched the spectacle. Before long, this incident became a hot topic. Their cruel actions were so outrageous that they immediately triggered a wave of public outrage. People began throwing garbage at them. I stood silently nearby, watching them face the consequences of their actions. Soon, the police arrived and took Melissa and Tasha away. The Nam and Tasha families were thrown into the eye of the storm. It was clear that both families would soon be investigated. Few businesses could survive such intense scrutiny, let alone families as corrupt as theirs. Furthermore, the Nam family would not allow them any chance to reverse the situation. The fate of the Louis and Tasha clans was sealed. Total collapse. Meanwhile, the party, which belonged to me, continued as usual. The chaos caused by Melissa and Tasha was nothing more than a side distraction, like the ridicule I once endured. No one cared about their shame. There were only murmurs of mockery. Amid the sparkling lights, I saw Nathan Miller. He wore a black suit, perfectly tailored, elegant as ever. But I was no longer the same person I had been months ago. It felt as if a century had passed. He approached, keeping a respectful distance, silently observing me. Perhaps I surprised him too much to know what to say. After a moment, he lowered his head, voice heavy with fatigue. "You found your family. I'm truly happy for you." I looked up at him, calm and straightforward. "Nathan, thank you for saving me from despair all those years ago. Even though we both carry scars now, I still hope for your peace." Hearing that, Nathan's heart suddenly tightened. He couldn't describe the feeling. Stifling, painful, impossible to let go. Only when someone experiences separation can they truly recognize the depth of their love. And when the separation is real, there is no chance of reunion. He had never felt this pain before, and when he realized it, it was already too late. He had lost me. "Lisa," his voice trembled. "I know I was terrible. I ignored your feelings. I've never truly loved anyone. Everyone thought I loved Melissa, but—" "I know," I interrupted him. "You don't love anyone. You only love yourself." Nathan fell silent, unable to argue. "Can't you give me one more chance? I will change." I shook my head. "No, Nathan, let's part ways peacefully. Don't make me feel disgusted by you anymore." I turned to leave, but suddenly he grabbed my wrist, pulling me into his arms. His grip was unrelenting. I couldn't move. Before I could speak, he whispered into my ear, "I've loved you from the moment I saved you. A seed planted in my heart has grown. Even if it grew too late, from now on, someone as despicable as me will never trouble you again. We don't need the court. I'll go with you to sign the divorce papers myself." On the day Nathan and I went to finalize the divorce, all the senior members of the Miller family were present, apologizing to me. They begged me not to go through with the divorce. Mrs. Miller herself held my hand, pleading silently. Mrs. Miller led me upstairs to talk. She handed me the Miller family's ancestral bracelet. "Lisa, don't worry. If Nathan ever dares to do something terrible again, I'll beat him myself. Since you left, little Liam has been gloomy all the time. For the child's sake, could you give Nathan one more chance?" I looked at the precious bracelet in her hand, but didn't take it. This bracelet was reserved for the Miller family's daughter-in-law, yet she hadn't given it to me before. Now she gently apologized and offered it only because my status as the Nam family's daughter was far more prestigious than Melissa's. So this was how power changed people so easily. I smiled faintly and declined. "Ma'am, you should keep this for someone more fitting for the Miller family." Then I stood and went downstairs. Nathan was standing at the bottom of the staircase, looking up at me with an intensity that made his knuckles tighten. His eyes were full of hope. When our eyes met, a sting rose in my nose. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Maybe he truly loved me, but we had never truly loved each other at the same time. I lowered my gaze, walked down the last step, and stopped in front of him. "Let's go." "Go where?" "To sign the divorce papers." Bookmark. After the divorce, Nathan often watched me quietly from hidden corners, unseen by anyone. He wondered to himself, if that night he hadn't worn the shirt embroidered with Melissa's name. If the woman beside him at the company dinner had been me. If during Liam's birthday he had remembered to think of me, would our story have ended so abruptly? But life had no rewind button. Everything between us had faded into a fine drizzle, disappearing somewhere he could never reach again. That day, I didn't remarry, nor did I date anyone. My career flourished, I met many people, my life became full of color. Yet beside me there wasn't a single man. Nathan often comforted himself, thinking maybe I still loved him. Then he laughed bitterly. I remained single, never once looking back at him. That alone said everything, said exactly how little he meant to me now. Still, Nathan found a twisted sense of relief. He was still the only man I had ever been with. Until Valentine's Day. 3 years later, I appeared with another man, Benjamin Hayes. Nathan sat in his car staring at us. His hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. We strolled down a lively food street, talking and laughing gently under the warm lights. Nathan slipped through the crowd, following us from a distance. My smile that night, soft, radiant, genuinely joyful, was something he hadn't seen in years. And none of it belonged to him anymore. In the noise of the bustling street, my image sharpened in his eyes. His chest tightened painfully. It was the ache of separation, The true kind, the kind that hollowed someone from the inside out. Because I had finally stepped out of his world completely. Only then did he realize this was what love really felt like. Even if it tore him apart, he didn't dare interrupt a single second of my happiness. He followed quietly like a shadow, unseen, unheard. And I never even noticed his existence. Nathan finally stopped walking. The crowd swallowed my silhouette in an instant, and I was gone. I had moved on, opening a new chapter of my life, while he remained trapped in the past, standing among the ruins of everything he had broken. Before him, life continued. Simple moments, gentle lights, the daily rhythms of the city. But all he could do was turn away, watching my shadow fade into the night, where distant lights stretched endlessly across the cityscape.